Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's look at another Spring Boot interview question. The question is, what is the difference between BeanFactory and application context? Let's understand it BeanFactory first. So what is exactly BeanFactory? In simple terms, BeanFactory is the root interface of the Spring IOC container. Its main responsibility is to create, configure and manage beans and handle their dependencies. One important point to remember for interviews is that BeanFactory creates beans lazily by default. So instead of creating every bean immediately, the container generally creates a bean when we actually request it. There are a few important things to remember about BeanFactory. First, it provides dependency injection, which means Spring can provide the required dependencies to our beans. Second, it manages the lifecycle of beans from their creation to their destruction. Third, BeanFactory follows lazy bean creation by default. So a bean is generally created when we actually request it. And finally, it's a lightweight IOC container that provides the basic container functionality. So in one line, you can remember BeanFactory equal to basic IOC container plus dependency injection plus bean lifecycle management plus lazy bean creation. Next, how BeanFactory actually works. There are 5 simple steps. First is bean definition. A bean definition contains the configuration metadata that tells Spring how a bean should be created and configured. This configuration metadata can be provided using XML configuration or Java configuration. Second, BeanFactory loads bean definitions into BeanFactory. Means BeanFactory reads this bean configuration and understands how the bean needs to be created. Third, bean creation. Creates bean lazily when requested. Means when the bean is requested, BeanFactory creates the required bean based on that configuration. Fourth step is dependency injection. Here Spring injects all the required dependencies into the bean. And finally the bean is ready to be used by the application. So the complete flow is bean definition, then BeanFactory, then bean creation, then dependency injection, and finally bean is ready. So this is the basic working flow of BeanFactory. Next, now let's look at a simple BeanFactory code example. Here we are creating a BeanFactory using a Spring configuration file. First, we load the beans.xml configuration file using classpath resource. Then we create the BeanFactory using that resource. After that, we use getBean method to request our MyService bean from the container. Once we request the bean, BeanFactory creates or retrieves bean and returns it to us. So this simple example shows how we can use BeanFactory to get a Spring managed bean from the container. Next, we will look at section 4, when and where BeanFactory is used. Now let's understand when and where BeanFactory is used. BeanFactory is mainly used when we need a basic and lightweight IOC container used in basic or legacy Spring applications, where only basic bean management and dependency injection are required. Another important point is that BeanFactory supports lazy bean creation by default. So it can be useful when we want beans to be created only when they are actually needed. It is suitable for small applications or resource constrained environments. However, in modern Spring applications, especially Spring Boot applications, application context is generally preferred. So that's it for BeanFactory. In the next image, we will understand application context and then compare BeanFactory versus application context. Now let's understand application context and we will compare both of them. So what exactly is application context? Application context is an advanced IOC container in Spring, and technically it extends the BeanFactory and adds many enterprise level features. So you can think of it as a more powerful version of the basic BeanFactory container. Application context is an advanced Spring IOC container. Means it extends the BeanFactory interface and provides all the basic functionality of BeanFactory along with the additional features. It creates and manages Spring Beans and their dependencies. It also provides dependency injection and bean lifecycle management. One important point is that singleton beans are pre-instantiated by default. So application context is more feature rich than BeanFactory and is commonly used in modern Spring applications. Next, now let's look at the key features of application context. There are a few important features we should remember for interviews. First is event handling. Publish and listen to application events. Means application context provides support for publishing and listening to application events. This allows different parts of our application to communicate through events. Second is internationalization or I1A10. Easy message source and local resolution. Means it allows our application to support messages in different languages and locals. Third is AOP integration. Application context integrates with Spring AOP, which is commonly used for things like logging, security, and transaction management. Fourth is environment and profiles. This is very useful when we have a different configurations for different environments, such as development, testing, and production. So it manages environments and active profiles easily. And fifth is automatic bean post processing. Built-in support for bean post processing and lifecycle. Means application context supports automatic bean post processing, which allows Spring to perform additional processing on beans during their lifecycle. So these are some of the important features that make application context more powerful than basic BeanFactory. Next, now let's move to the comparison between BeanFactory and application context. The first difference is the type of container. BeanFactory is the basic IOC container, whereas application context is an advanced IOC container. Next is bean creation. BeanFactory creates beans lazy by default. Application context pre-instantiates eager singleton beans by default. When it comes to events, BeanFactory doesn't provide application event support, whereas application context provides event handling. For internationalization, BeanFactory doesn't provide built-in I1A10 support, while application context supports internationalization. Next, when we talk about AOP and bean post processing, application context provides better integration with these Spring features. Next, BeanFactory usage in basic or legacy applications, and application context usage in modern Spring and Spring Boot applications. BeanFactory is less preferred and application context is highly preferred. So in simple terms, BeanFactory is basic IOC container. Application context is advanced IOC container plus additional Spring features. So that is the main difference between these two. Next, why application context in Spring Boot? Spring Boot uses application context because it provides the complete Spring container functionality by modern applications, including auto configuration, dependency injection, events, profiles, internationalization, and bean post processing. It also works seamlessly with the features provided by the Spring Framework and Spring Boot. So instead of using the basic BeanFactory directly, Spring Boot applications use application context because it provides a more complete and feature-rich IOC container. That's why you commonly see application context behind the scenes in Spring Boot applications. Next, if the interviewer asks you what is the difference between BeanFactory and application context, you can answer like this. BeanFactory is the basic IOC container in Spring, while application context extends BeanFactory and provides additional features such as event handling, internationalization, environment management, and better integration with Spring features. In modern Spring Boot applications, application context is generally preferred. So that's all about the BeanFactory versus application context. If you found this video is helpful, please subscribe my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram for more Java full stack interview questions. Thank you.